Let's say a short word of prayer. Oh God, open us up. Open our eyes that we might see. Open our ears that we might hear. Open our hearts that we might feel your presence in this place and all the places people join us. And then, oh God, open our hands that when we leave worship, we might leave ready to serve you, ready to bring your joy and celebration. Amen. Sometimes the the best teachers are those people outside of the church. So, as you know, because I've talked about it before, I started bowling back in January. And I have to say, I keep talking about it because bowling gives me the best sermon illustrations. I love it. It is so fun. And I joined a league. There was four of us here at the church, and we had a couple subs from the church that went and we bowled every Thursday night in league. And I liked it so much that I found out that if you're in a league, you get a discount. So I would go during the day and start bowling so that way I could get a little bit better because I really wanted to learn. And then I even started staying after league was over. And after league was over at night, when there's less kids around, a little bit more drinking, the language is a little bit more colorful after league at night. And I would stay and hang out. I haven't been a pastor forever. And in fact, I haven't been in the church forever. And there is something for me that is still comfortable at night after the sun goes down. You know, I, there's something about that still feels a lot like home. And I admit, my language can get colorful often, and I hang out and I have fun and I enjoy being there with people I know, and I started building community. And in fact, it's at Peak Bowl. So Short is here, is one of the owners of Peak Bowl. So I love that he's coming here, and there's a couple of people actually from there that show up online with us. I love that we're starting to build this community there too. It's very cool. And I'm sorry, I'm pretty sure I just lost my space. I knew I was going to today. I found it. So back in January, I was bowling, and it was at night, and I was hanging out and having a conversation and laughing, and somebody asked, this woman who I was bowling with asked what I do for a living, and she found out in that moment I was a pastor. And I saw the look of shock go over her face, and then the look of, oh, what did I just say? I could see going through her head, like trying to figure out which words she had used. And then I saw the question hit her. I saw it just as clear as day on her face. Like, how are you, a pastor, here hanging out with me? I could see it in her face, just wondering, aren't you aren't you supposed to be judging me? Aren't you supposed to be better than me? I, John Wesley, founder of Methodism, he did this thing for years as a young adult where he sat, and every single hour of every single day, he would write in a journal what things he did that were good and what things that he did were bad. And he was trying with everything he had to not fail, to be blemish free. He was going to earn his way into the love of God. And that's what she was asking. That's what people always ask. It's a pattern in my life where somebody will say something and then say something, maybe their language is a little off or whatever it might be. And then a few seconds later, they find out I'm a pastor. And that's what they expect from me, is that I would be a person so concerned with earning my way into the love of God, with earning my way into God's kingdom. But what if it isn't all about that? So there's a quote that I read this week that it really drew me into this idea. I'm reading, and so the author is Ted Leeson, and he had this amazing quote. Possibly, our attitudes towards work and play have come down to us as a national inheritance. They may represent a sort of reverse historical hangover, the lingering after effects of the chronic underindulgence of Puritanism, which looked upon leisure with a deep theological misgivings and equated idleness with the road to hell. At least we do appear to harbor a mistrust or guilt about play that compels us to camouflage it as something else, to align it with something more respectable than the devil's workshop. We want to relegate God to Sundays, to put God on this one day a week and keep God out of our fun time, keep God out of playtime, keep God out of our moments of celebration. We don't want God to see those broken parts of our lives, so we keep God on Sundays. Or we don't have fun, but we don't think that they can interact. We so often, when we're having fun, have this idea, this sort of Puritan idea that it has to have limits. We can't have too much fun. We have to keep work involved. We have to make sure there's limits and lines, that our celebration can't be fully pure celebration, that we can't quite both have God and fun. There's an old quote that I ran into this week that, the definition of Puritanism is the fear that somebody somewhere might be happy. We have to make sure there's not quite fullness of life there. Brene Brown talks about it a little bit, and she talks about joy being the most terrifying of all of the emotions that we can feel. It's terrifying, not joy itself, but the fear comes from the fear that it won't last long enough, that the joy will be over, that the joy will end, that it's going to hurt when it's over. Joy being one of our most terrifying emotions. But what if? What if Jesus does invite us into play? What if God invites us into joy? What if playfulness and brokenness are part of God's plan? What if celebration and fear are okay? What if God invites us into celebration? What if the rules that we're not allowed to comes from the settlers of this country, this land, but not from God? Hear now these words from the book of John, the 2nd chapter, verses 1 through 11. On the 3rd day, there was a wedding in Cana of Galilee, and the mother of Jesus was there. Jesus and his disciples had also been invited to the wedding. When the wine gave out, the mother of Jesus said to them, "They have no wine." And Jesus said to her, "Woman, what concern is it to you and to me? My hour has not yet come." His mother said to the servants, "Do whatever he tells you." Now, standing there were 6 stone water jars for the Jewish rites of purification, each holding 20 or 30 gallons. Jesus said to them, "Fill the jars with water." And they filled them up to the brim. He said to them, "Now draw some out and take it to the chief steward." So they took it. When the steward tasted the water that had become wine and did not know where it came from, though the servants who had drawn the water knew, the steward called the bridegroom and said to him, "Everyone serves the good wine first, and then the inferior wine after all the good wine guests have become drunk. But you have kept the good wine until now." Jesus did this, the first of his signs in Cana of Galilee, and revealed his glory, and his disciples believed in him. May God bless the reading, the hearing, and the understanding of this word. I've been doing all week what I wonder if you all are doing now. Drawing lines, setting boundaries, saying it's fun as long as the party didn't go too late. Well, this particular party probably went nearly a week. As long as there's not too much alcohol, 120 gallons after they were all drunk already. As long as the language isn't too colorful, as long as it isn't too fun, as long as, because it's where we all go, is straight to those lines, those boundaries, the saying, we can have fun, but let's make sure to put some limits on it. I loved this other quote that I read this week. It's from Joe McKeever. He has a blog post on weddings, and he said this: "I recall my surprise on finding that the Bible contains no wedding ceremonies. Not one. Nada. It is not silent about marriage, but completely mute on weddings. Well, other than the fact that Jesus catered the wine for one in Cana of Galilee, but as a card-toting Southern Baptist, I am not going there. But I wonder, should we ponder that? Should we consider it? Should we go there? I mean, Jesus did. He didn't put ifs and lines, and he didn't check cards at the door and say, well, if you're planning on earning your way into heaven, you can't come to this party. He didn't say that. He didn't say, well, let's see, what do you have going on in your life? He didn't say, well, you can have fun, but I'm not going to let you have that much fun. Maybe we should consider this, think about it, ponder what it is. Maybe we should go there. I mean, Jesus did. Maybe Jesus gives us permission to have fun, to be playful, to be totally present in those absolute moments of celebration in our lives. As a pastor, one of the favorite things I do is weddings. I love doing weddings. I remember a wedding that, I was the last option for this couple. You see, they came from a non-denominational church. And she had been married. She was divorced. She had married too young. She wasn't ready to be a wife and had gotten divorced, and nobody would marry her. Male pastor after male pastor in their non-denominational church told them, no, can't do it, will not do it because of your past, because of your history. You have to do these things. And finally, they were running out of time, and somebody was better than nobody, so they went ahead and asked me if I would do their wedding, and I said yes. And on the day of their wedding, I'm standing up at the altar. I have the groom next to me. The wedding party had come in, so they're standing on either side of me. And for some reason that day, the bride just wasn't coming in. We're all waiting for her. We're watching the door of the chapels and just waiting for them to open. The congregation is still seated, and you could feel the anticipation and the power and the celebration and the joy. That moment was so pregnant with possibility, with their future. And finally, those doors opened, and she was standing right there, so beautiful, just glowing. And the groom could hold back his tears no more. And I know in that moment, even though people tried to stop it with rules and Puritanism and to say no, I know that Jesus was there. I knew that he was there in that moment of celebration and through the ceremony and at the end when they were taking pictures and later that night when they were throwing that party and through the first days of their marriage and through the months to come, that Jesus was there, ready to turn water into wine and celebrate with them. Thanks be to God. Amen.